So Ukraine has agreed to the ceasefire, to the unconditional ceasefire. And in the meantime, Russia has said, no, we do not agree to the ceasefire, unconditional ceasefire. We can actually agree to a partial ceasefire, and that partial ceasefire would mean that we would not attack each other's energy infrastructure for 30 days, and there would be peace on the Black Sea. I guess that's also part of the partial ceasefire. But Russia has said that, first of all, the ceasefire is no good. The conditions of the ceasefire are not good because it just allows Ukraine to rearm, get resupply, and continue the war in a better condition. Second of all, Russia has said that in order for it to agree to any ceasefire, first of all, sanctions have to be lessened on agricultural products, and certain financial instruments have to be brought back to Russia for it to be able to use those instruments. And that is just something that clearly demonstrates that Russia is not really interested in a ceasefire, that Russia is just interested in dragging the negotiations, and in the meantime continuing the war. That is the reality of the situation, which is evidenced by a few other events that have happened in the meantime connected to this whole ordeal of trying to organize a partial ceasefire. The amazing peacemaker Donald Trump went from, I'm gonna end the war in 24 hours. In fact, he said that he would end it before even taking office. I'm gonna end it in half a year, I guess. I'm gonna end it in 100 days. I'm gonna end it real quick. It's gonna end very fast. To trying to organize a partial ceasefire, which again, even he himself has somewhat admitted that Russia is just dragging its feet, that maybe it wants to sign a deal, maybe it doesn't want to sign the deal. And then in his usual pathetic manner, Trump has continued to say, yeah, I understand Putin doing this. I did it in the past during my real estate dealings. He just wants to stay in the game, sort of. He wants to stay in the game and maybe do it, maybe not do it. You know, it's understandable. I do it like that as well. Pathetic behavior, in other words. Basically just justifying any ridiculous action that Vladimir Putin and by extension Russia takes. In the meantime, two different events have happened. The United States seem unfazed by both. I believe that at this point, from what I've seen, Russia has violated this partial ceasefire several times, although I'm not even sure if technically speaking it has even agreed to it yet, because the sanctions I'm pretty sure have not been lifted as per Russia's demands. But Russia has commenced a pretty big attack on Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Again, even though the partial ceasefire requires both sides not to attack each other's energy infrastructure. Let me take a look. Let me Google this, okay? Kherson attack on energy grid. This is new development, okay? There you go. Russia again violates partial ceasefire by attacking. This is from when? April Fools. Well, what do you know? What a little April Fools. Oh, we're having a partial ceasefire. We're so not gonna attack your energy infrastructure. April Fools, we're totally gonna attack it. I guess it's just like a little bit of a prank. A little bit of a cool joke on Russia's side. The partial ceasefire was just an April Fool's joke. Some 45,000 residents of Kherson were left without electricity after a morning Russian attack on one of the city's powerful facilities. On one of the city's power facilities, Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha said on April 1st during a joint press conference with his Lithuanian counterpart, Kęstutis Burdis. The attack happened after Russia and Ukraine announced a partial ceasefire on strikes against energy facilities following technical consultations with the US in Riyadh and previous week. After Riyadh, one of the agreements with the US was about not striking at energy infrastructure. Sibiha said at press conference, "I'm pretty sure that Russia has violated this partial ceasefire at least 29 times, or at least that's what I thought. That's what I saw on the counter on a different stream's screen, so I trust it." According to the local military administration, the central and Korabelny districts of Kherson are without electricity. So this happened. This is one of the two things that happened. Russia has violated again the partial ceasefire in a big way, demonstrating that it wants to stall, and not lead to any breakthroughs when it comes to the peace effort. That is one. But there's also another big thing that happened that should give us all pause. I would argue even bigger, and that is draft. Putin begins biggest Russian military call up in years from 9 hours ago. BBC, Politico. Putin to conscript 160,000 more Russians for war with Ukraine. Wow, that really demonstrates how ready for peace Vladimir Putin is. That really demonstrates just how much Russia respects the United States of America, specifically Donald Trump. It really demonstrates how great a relationship Donald Trump has with Vladimir Putin, how well he understands him, how big strides Donald Trump has made to finally end this war so that kids won't have to die. Stop the virtue signaling, okay? Kids are dying. Conscription. That is the real way to peace. Politico. Let's go with Politico. Putin to conscript 160 more Russians for war with Ukraine. Ukraine warned the Kremlin is preparing for a massive new military offensive. Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered another 100. Okay? Again, Russia drafts men aged 18 to 30 years old. The new order, starting April 1st and to be completed by July 15th, comes amidst the ongoing negotiations for a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, brokered by the United States. And again, time and time again, the United States demonstrates that it is an ally to Russia. It pressures Ukraine time and time and time again to give more and more and more and more, and makes no demands of Russia. In fact, it placates to Russia's demands more and more and more and more. Okay? And this sort of draft of 160,000 new recruits that demonstrates that Russia is not serious about any sort of peace and not serious about any sort of ceasefire at this point. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky claims Russia is dragging out the peace process as it is preparing a massive new offensive to grab more Ukrainian land before actual peace talks. I can agree with that. According to our intelligence, Russia is preparing for a new offensive in Sumy, Kharkiv, and Zaporizhia regions, Zelensky said last week. And I'm willing to bet that Trump's main reaction to something like this will be, well, yeah, I would have done it like this as well. It's logical. I can understand why Putin does it like this. They're dragging out negotiations and trying to drag the US into endless, meaningless discussions about fake conditions to buy time and then try to seize even more land. Putin wants to negotiate territory from a stronger position. He only thinks about war. So our job, all of us, is defense in the broadest sense of the word. So yeah, this is ridiculous. And in the meantime, there's a third event, of course, brewing in the horizon. The infamous, I've missed a lot of things. I've been ill. I haven't been talking politics. I just decided to bundle up a lot of horrible things that have been happening into one little segment called the ceasefire negotiations. In the meantime, Donald Trump is annoyed. Donald Trump is feeling big annoyance by both Vladimir Putin and Zelensky, okay? And let me tell you about what exactly he is annoyed by, and we will clearly see where his loyalties lie, and we will clearly see how serious he is about things. He is annoyed by Putin because Putin has undermined the legitimacy of Zelensky as president, even though Trump has done so himself. Trump has clearly, when it was convenient to him, undermined Zelensky's legitimacy as well. He called him a dictator. Of course, he later said that he does not remember saying anything like that, but it is well documented that he did. So he is annoyed about that with Putin. But he is also annoyed with Zelensky because Ukraine does not want to sign a mineral deal with the US, which would relinquish control not just over the rare earth minerals, but also oil and gas. And also, it would allow the US to potentially dictate which allies is Ukraine allowed and not allowed to have, which means that it would directly undermine Ukraine's accession to the European Union, to which Ukraine absolutely does not agree. Okay, it does not agree to sign a deal that would jeopardize its membership in the European Union. And let me just say that the fact that Donald Trump is trying, he even said, it looks like, and I'm paraphrasing, Zelensky's trying to pull back of this deal. He doesn't want to sign it, but if he doesn't sign it, he's going to be in big trouble. He's going to have a lot of trouble, okay, if he doesn't sign this deal. And just how, like, why would Ukraine want to sign a deal that would jeopardize its membership in the UN? Like, at this point, the United States is just another empire that is looking to exploit Ukraine. It just has to be said. It just has to be said without reservation. At this point, it's just Ukraine between two empires trying to get as much as they can out of Ukraine. So that has been happening as a backdrop to the ceasefire negotiations. And what else can I say? What else can I say? It is clear that Russia is not interested in any sort of peace. It is interested that Russia is not even interested in any sort of ceasefire. It has broken the ceasefire 29 times or more at this point. It's just pathetic. It's pathetic that the West keeps falling for that. Like, everybody, every person in a country that even remotely borders Russia knew from the start what a ceasefire with Russia means. We all saw the writing on the wall, okay? And people are just now making this shocked face. What? But then again, apparently Trump has only recently learned through his intelligence that Russia is receiving aid from Iran, the Shahid drones. Apparently it's like a new revelation to Donald Trump. So let's not even get into the whole topic of how much Trump is out of touch when it comes to the entire conflict. How he lied about Ukrainian troops being encircled in the Kursk region time and time again, even when he was decisively disproven his narrative around it. Like, the United States have taken the role of pressuring Ukraine into concessions, spreading Russian propaganda and conspiracy, basically, and just giving more and more to Russia. So this is where we are. The United States are brokering a partial ceasefire because Russia has not agreed to a complete ceasefire. It has not even, technically speaking, agreed to the partial ceasefire. Donald Trump is doing an amazing job brokering this peace. Biden, I can say with confidence that as bad as Biden has done on aid, as bad as the entirety of the West has done on aid, as much as the West has dropped the ball on helping Ukraine in its time of need, I will say that Biden would probably not have done it like quite like this, okay? He probably would have not went as far as to basically ally himself with Russia openly. And this is where we are. We'll see what the new developments will bring. We'll see what will happen. And in the meantime, I've given you a little bit of a TLDR of what's been happening and my